Hey guys, welcome to Fancast. We're here with... Is this episode 1 or is this episode 2 now? We're here for another episode. Another episode where it's three amigos here.
Mm-hmm. Triple J.
Triple J, exactly right. It's boy Joe. Got Joyce here.
How are ya?
Good, mate.
Thanks for having me on, boys.
Yeah, no
Excited
worries.
to be here.
100%. Me more so. Jazza,
And Big J over here, guys.
how's it going?
Yeah, doing really well. Nice to talk some footy tonight.
100%.
Was that a self-proclaimed Big J?
Big J, yep.
Yeah, I like that. We've all given each other, we haven't given each other nicknames. We've actually just self-imposed nicknames.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah. No, very good. I'll stick to Joycey tonight, I reckon.
Oh, you can call me whatever you want.
Careful.
Daddy Joe.
Careful.
Maximus
Smoking Joe. Smoking Joe.
Smoking Joe. Yeah,
Smoking Joe.
we'll rock with Smoking Joe
Yeah,
today.
Smoking Joe.
We're here for some quick fire, rapid fire, whatever you like to call it. Some quick questions. There's a few of them. We want some quick answers, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Let's get cracking.
Let's get cracking. Now, we will start pretty big. Has there been a bigger disappointment in recent memory than Carlton this year?
I mean, we can both look at each other and go, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there has. Yeah. And for the past 20 years or so, you guys can say, yes, definitely,
It's
there has
not
been
even
more
just-
disappointments.
This is not recent memory now. This is my entire memory at this point.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Hey, you've still got 2000. It's okay. You've still got 2000. Yep. And 1999, of course.
1999,
Yeah,
yep.
I wasn't born yet. In terms of, I think it's probably the scale of Carlton. They are the powerhouse of the AFL.
Yep.
Yeah.
When they are up and running, it is disgusting. It is really hard to deal with because they have so many fans and so many very, very loud, proud Carlton supporter fans.
And they let you know they're Carlton supporters too. They don't shut up. They're just like, hey, I go for Carlton. We're doing well. Suck it.
Guys, they came out with a beer last year called Baggers 22. I've got a 6-pack at home midway through the season because they were so sure they were making finals and then they bombed out.
Wow.
They are very, very confident supporters. So I think it's not the biggest disappointment that we've ever seen. We've seen teams go from 9th to 15th God knows how many times.
Yeah, true.
But it's just the scale. It's just the fact that there's so many Carlton supporters and they are very loud and very proud
And
supporters.
the build-up.
The build-up. That's because the media's just pumping them up because the media wants them to do well because it's good for their stories and good for... Carlton supporters are just suckers for clickbait.
Yeah.
They are just suckers for clickbait. So
They know we're coming, bro. They know we're coming.
Oh, man.
That's it.
That's a meme
it's like
forever.
Kane Corns talking about North Melbourne. Whenever it does, the fans don't shut up, and it's the same with the baggers too.
Yeah.
Anything Carlton comes out, we better talk about it. We're going on the radio, going on TV, going on Facebook or the internet. It's like, come on.
It's hectic.
Yeah.
I mean, Carlton missing finals last year. I didn't consider that to be
It
a
was pretty
disappointment.
funny.
I thought that was more funny more than anything.
I've got a great story about that.
Yes.
I'm a musician outside of my footy chat, and I was playing at a function, a 30th birthday function, and they booked it a year in advance for this venue and booked me well in advance. Anyway, I rock up to the venue and the footy's on in the venue, like they've got 3 plasma screens up, and I'm playing songs. No one could care less about the music that I'm playing because everyone's got their eyes glued to the TV because the lady whose 30th it was like from a big Italian family of Carlton supporters.
Oh, no.
And it was the last game of the year.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Jamie Elliott's kicked him out of
Oh, man.
So I have to try and bring back the vibe to this party where everyone's just throwing beer bottles everywhere. Like, it was pandemonium. So that was just, when I talk about Carlton supporters being loud and proud, they were very loud.
Not so proud, though. I don't think
Not so
they-
proud. I automatically, straight after the game finished, I said, I sang Better Days by Pete Murray, which I thought was very fitting. But
Oh, yes.
Back to the question. I don't think it's a massive disappointment.
No.
For the AFL, but for the Carlton supporters, it is the biggest disappointment that they've dealt with in a long time.
Yeah.
Long time.
I would argue that this year was the year where they didn't actually go in there with as much hype. I think last year they kind of burnt out really hard. The hype really hit them, as you say, and just missing finals almost put them out a little bit. So they tried to be a little bit slower in the media. Let's not be the number one story every day. Mate, it's round, 13 or 14 now. We're still the number one story again. Can't stop it.
Yeah. And I remember like David, Damien Barrett. Damien Barrett was doing his
Purple.
like ifs and thens.
Yep.
You know,
Yes.
and I love his ifs and thens because they can be so bloody wrong.
Those sliding door things,
The sliding
yeah,
doors. That's
yeah.
it. Damien Barrett's sliding doors. And it was going into the Saints-Carlton match. And it's like, if Carlton, if Saints think they're going to beat Carlton, they can think again. Blues still a serious contender this year and we'll finish top 4. And I'm like, this bloke is just like, he's like, come on, guys.
Yep.
Bring in that mullah.
100%.
Bring in them clicks. That's what I'm here for.
His eyes, his pupils were just dollar signs.
Oh,
as,
that's it.
as he's
Yeah,
typing
yeah.
this out, he knows he's coming. But I would probably say, Carlton, I don't think there has been a bigger disappointment for a particular fan base than Carlton this year, because I just don't think I've seen any supporter base implode and collapse as much as I've ever seen this fan base do so, because they are hurling abuse at their players coming off the field.
Did you see that footage of that? Like the people leaning over the side as they walk through the tunnel
And dropping their scarves and bobbleheads and...
I don't think I've ever seen that before. Like I've seen fans get angry at players, but never collectively at a team and throwing merchandise at them as the game's finished.
Yeah. The last thing I can remember from that was like when Kevin Sheedy was getting marshmallows thrown at him or something.
He set that up.
Yeah,
he
he
set
did.
that
He-
up. That
he
was
set it up.
marketing genius.
Yeah, it was very, very good.
You know-
Pascal was very happy with him.
You know what the worst thing is, right? Before this game, Carlton had put out like a bobblehead that you had to go and like sign up on the website and you had to be a member and do all these things.
Yep.
There was Essendon people lining up in that line and they were getting Charlie Curnow bobbleheads and the fans were complaining and now they're selling them on eBay for like $200 each.
It is
like
glorious.
this is our glorified player.
Yeah.
It's only supposed to be for members. You're actually just sitting there giving them to opposition fans. It's
Yeah.
like, what has this club become, man?
That's genius.
Yeah.
Marketing genius is what Carlton has become.
You want genius, guys? If you haven't watched that video, there's a video produced by Herbatron on YouTube. Honestly, if you haven't watched Herbatron's videos, he expresses what we've talked about so much more funny. It's unbelievable. All right.
So is that like a don't listen to us, go listen to him? I don't think that's good for business.
After this, please like and subscribe, please, fellas. Very professional podcast. Alrighty, we'll go for the second question now. Should the umpires determine who wins the Brownlow medal? There's a lot of say in these umpires these days. Dissent, 50s, reporting.
My question alongside that is, who else would it be if it wasn't the umpires? They've already got the coaches' votes.
Yeah.
Do they get rid of the coaches' votes and then just put it on the coaches are the ones who do the medals? Is it supposed to be like a players thing?
They'd have
do
a
all
panel.
the players kind of get together and put like votes
Yeah.
in a hat, Survivor style, and do that? You know?
They'd have a panel like All Australian, and they've
Yeah.
chatted about it before. I remember them chatting about it last year and saying, should we take it out of the umpires' hands and should we have a panel much like the All Australian team to decide on the Brownlow winner? And my automatic thought to that was no, because if anyone's going to judge the best and the fairest player on the field, it's the umpires. You know what I mean? Like
you laugh any harder, Jez?
but they're not going to pick someone in terms of like if you get hurled abuse, say Toby Green. The reason he's never polled well on a Brownlow count is because he complains about everything. He's a sook and he goes around throwing punches and giving away free kicks.
And he walks through umpires as well.
And he walks through umpires, so he's not going to win a Brownlow. So I think in terms of the fairest player, the umpires are going to adjudicate that brilliantly and better than I think a lot of like any panel. To be honest,
Or just be like Paddy Cripps and have a really good lawyer. And then like the umpires don't matter anymore because you just get off. You get reported and then you get off. And it's like, oh, well, umpires, who cares?
that was brilliant.
Yeah.
That was so good. I reckon it's all a ploy by the AFL just to get Carlton raking in more money.
They have to win something in the last 20 years. It might as well be a Brownlow.
Yeah, that's it.
Honestly, if at this rate, it should just be the Carlton lawyers that determines who wins the Brownlow at this rate, because they've got a 100% success rate.
They do. Yeah, they genuinely do.
They are infallible.
Yeah.
They're
great.
Man, the Hawks need to get them on board ASAP. For
Same with
Sicily.
Richmond, I reckon.
Same thing with
Yeah.
Mansell's gone. He's not a big name.
Yeah. I was talking a bit more than that, but anyway. Play on.
We're talking football. We're talking football, Joycey. We're talking football.
Play on.
Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here.
Yeah, I don't think like there's already enough awards that are determined by a panel. So I think leave it up to the umpires. I think that maybe the umpire, like the fourth umpire, or not the fourth umpire now, the fifth umpire, sitting on the bench should have more of a say. And I'm not sure how they deliberate it. Like, do they come together immediately after the game and go, this was the best player, okay, 3 votes?
Yeah,
or do they sit back and they go, stats?
No, I think at the end of the game, they all go into like the change rooms and actually to pull out the folders and say, hey, these are the stats for the game. Who do we think 1, 2, 3 votes done? That's it.
Okay, yeah, then I don't mind it. Yeah, I don't mind it at all.
Great. No more panels to decide things, as decided by this panel. But we'll move on to the next question. Is the tackle in danger?
Yeah.
Like, football as we know it is changing.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is. I'm going to say no. In a game, there's 200 tackles that happen. Maybe 1 out of every 5 or so games someone gets reported for a tackle. You know, that's 1,000 tackles and 1 tackle's a bad one. That's considered to be a foulable offence. Yes, concussion's a huge thing and it needs to be stamped, not stamped out, but there needs to be protocols to help stop it. But keeping the tackle, I think it's fine. I mean, we've seen with Blakey got off, right? So it's not a bad thing. Butler got off as well. So, yeah, the tackle's fine. It's just some bad things. I think the players as well, there has to be some welfare between the players. So, yes, you can tackle me, but don't slam my head into the ground, make me concussed for the next, 2 or 3 weeks. So, yeah.
It's interesting. I was chatting about this with my old man, and we're actually talking about how the concussions in terms of head ground based concussions has risen so much over the past 5 years. And why is it? And we were looking at it and going, well, one, the turf.
Yep.
The turf is now hard. Every AFL ground now has hard turf. If you get tackled and your head slams into mud, no concussion.
Yep.
You get straight back up, you knock your ear out to get the mud out of your ear.
Yeah.
But it's play on. From now on, if the grounds are going to be as hard as they are, yes, there needs to be adjudications on sling tackles and whatnot. But no matter what's happening, if you stick your shoulder out on a ground and with that force, that blunt force that your head would be copping onto your shoulder, it'll cop it a bit better. But if it's still hard, you're popping a shoulder out.
Yeah.
There's injuries are going to happen. So there's a lot of different injuries that are happening these days because of the way that the grounds are going to be prepared.
Yeah.
So you look at it as the bigger picture and you go, okay, well, maybe it's not as much an issue with the tackling as it is with the preparations of the ground.
Right.
But the ground calls for fast, entertaining football,
Yeah.
which is what we all love. We all want to see the type of football that gets played at Marvel, which is just condition-free football, and
Absolutely.
off you go. So there's that. But then there's also the need, and I think this is instilled from rugby sort of inspirations, the need to ground your player. Mm-hmm. If the intention goes from being to stop your player and ground your player to stripping the ball off of a player and getting a free kick for incorrect disposal, automatically that changes the mindset of every AFL footballer to go for the ball and to just strip the player of the ball rather than tackling them, injuring them, hurting them, getting it to the ground. Because you'd prefer to get a free kick every time rather than having another stoppage.
Yes.
So is that something else that can be looked at to be rewarding people that strip the player of the ball? Because at the moment they say, ball was knocked out in the tackle, play on.
Yeah.
Nah, if he doesn't get rid of it and you manage to tap it out of his hands, new rule is it's holding the ball.
Yeah, and I think I've seen a couple of times, especially just with our last game, where a player was being tackled from his 5 seconds, and then
Shocking.
somehow they got rid of the ball, and it's not. There's no advantage for the guy that was tackling him.
Yeah.
You're almost incentivized to, okay, I physically have to stop you from moving. I do that by putting you on the ground versus holding someone up.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we're in this situation where the AFL sort of wanted to give the person with the ball an ability to fight through and get the handball out, but at the same time also we're trying to reward the tackler. It doesn't seem like the tackler is being rewarded at all. There is absolutely, as you say, no incentive whatsoever to
being
tackling.
punished.
They are being punished so many times. It's harder to tackle than it is to pick up a ball.
Oh, yeah.
Like someone trying to run through you and you're trying to cling onto them for dear life and stop them for your team.
Yeah.
You see a lot of circumstances where players are now, I don't know if it's they're just being they're lazy or not, but people are now starting to think twice about tackling someone. They're thinking, all right, no, we'll let you pick the ball up and then
I'll just corral you.
and corral you. Exactly. So that's not how football traditionally has been played, and you cannot escape the commentary that's around you. You know, people hear BT, people hear, you know, all these people there. They're like, oh, it doesn't go for the tackle, tries to, you know, fend off or something like that, you know, tries to corral them. And then you'll go out in public and you find people walking through the streets and they might judge you for being soft. It's like, no, I'm trying to think about my career here. I don't want to be sitting here on the pine.
Dan Butler came into the tribunal and said, the tribunal said, is there any other way? Did you have the option to not tackle and do something else? He's like, no, I would have been dropped. It is his job to tackle. It is his job to run down and tackle players. Yep. So, you know, and it's not his fault that Nick Blakey has the shoulders of a 3-year-old and the width of his head goes out.
He's a lizard.
Around the confines of his shoulders.
Come on.
He's a lizard. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it was just... if he tackles Ollie Wines in that situation, Ollie Wines goes bugger and gets back up, and it's a free kick to Dan Butler.
Exactly.
Like, his head doesn't go near the ground. So it was just, you know... And I'm glad they looked at that incident and went, no, that's just a... bad luck.
That's a football accident.
That's a football accident.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they're getting that about them now, and that's the first one they've kind of gone, nah, it's not.
I'm glad they didn't go down the way of the lawyer, because if you're speaking to a lawyer, they might have said, you take your victim as you find him, bad luck, Butler. But thankfully,
I think that's what the MRO does, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what the MRO does.
Yeah.
Awesome. So the tackle is not in danger. It's the adjudication around it and the instructions.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think there's going to be more adaptation.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Awesome. Next question. Will Collingwood win the flag? Is flag pies officially a thing this year?
I'll let you guys start and I'll jump in at the end.
I reckon, yeah.
You reckon they're on?
I reckon they're on. I reckon... Like, I know Craig McRae, Fly McRae, whatever you want to call him, was saying no, it wasn't the flu, it wasn't the sickness that went through the club that was the reason why we were sick, why we were under the weather, why we weren't playing really well on Monday. He didn't use that as an excuse, but that's what I reckon every good coach would do. I don't think there's any good coach that would say, yeah, we were all sick this week. So that's why we didn't get up. There's no way he'd do that. I reckon they've still got a lot of talents that would come back from that list. They play the MCG just about better than anyone. Melbourne did really well, I got to admit, on King's birthday, but they'll learn from that, Collingwood, and they'll come back stronger than ever, I reckon.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those situations where they are the best team in the AFL right now. They're the best coach team in the AFL. Port Adelaide are posing a big threat now.
Huge.
Yeah, huge threat to them. Everyone thought it was going to be Brizzy. Everyone thought it was going to be Melbourne. I think it's Port Adelaide that are going to be the big threat. But I'm not going to say they can win the flag and they're putting themselves into the best position to win a flag, but I know what it's like to be in the best position to win a flag and fall short. So it's up to the day. It's up to whoever comes through on the day. I tell you what, and it depends on a few things as well. If it's grand final day and it's pissing down with rain and they're playing Melbourne, Collingwood win. Melbourne can't play in the wet. So there's different levels as to why they should and why they can't.
Yeah.
But there's more positives to Collingwood winning a flag than there isn't, I'd say, at the moment.
September rain.
They're putting themselves in the best position to do so, but who knows what happens when September comes.
Yeah. I reckon Clarko's coming back and North Melbourne's going to win the next 15 games and then we're going to win. On a more serious note, it's their finals to lose at this point. Yeah, I think so. There is 3 or 4 good teams in the finals that on any given day, we talk about any given Sunday, it's kind of a philosophy here with sports in general where any team can beat any team on the day. Maybe the pressure gets to them, maybe something happens. Yeah, I think they're definitely in the run. 3 or 4 teams that can do it. Collingwood's probably up there as the top.
Yeah. The ladder speaks for itself, doesn't it? Yeah.
And that percentage.
Yeah.
I don't think they care about percentage more than anything. I mean, they were one.
They were the points.
Yeah. They were all about the points. They were 1 point shy of the grand final last year off a lot of very close wins.
Yeah, a lot of very close wins.
But in saying that, they were only 1 goal away from losing this week against Melbourne. So, it can work either way as well.
Yeah, that's true. Awesome. Next question. Who is the best commentator in the game right now? The best one.
That's tough.
I quite like Hudson.
Yeah, I like Hutto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hutto.
Yeah.
Took Hutto from me.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Joe. You can say the same thing as me. You don't have to pick someone
No,
different.
I feel like I have to change now.
Okay, we'll pick someone different then.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Basil.
Underwood.
Yeah.
No, not Underwood.
I think there's something to be said about commentators who haven't necessarily played the game before but have done commentating for a long time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll have commentators, these guys from the 80s and 90s who come in, it's like, oh, I know about the game, I can commentate. And there's just a lot of pause and there's a lot of like, what do I say next? Whereas the really good commentators, they've done it for 20 or 30 years. They know what they're talking about and they can just flow. And it's just like, hey, this guy's here. I don't have to put it on mute this week. Yeah.
I like that. I think that's what's great about Dwayne Russell as well.
Yes.
No, there is no pause. Although he might be repetitive and he might say the same thing over and over again every game, he doesn't stop. He doesn't leave time for silence. But there is a beauty in leaving the time for a bit of quiet. Say there's been a bit of discourse over the journey of the game. Like I remember they were talking about the Dan Butler tackle.
Oh, yeah.
Until the cows came home, they were talking about that. But after that, there was a little bit of silence, and then it came back into the call.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's fantastic. You can let the people watch the game.
Yeah.
You know, well, I know blind people might have a tough time and they'll need the commentary, but that's what radio's for. You know, and
Shots
that's where.
fired.
Yeah, oh, no, that wasn't meant to be shots fired. Oh my word! But that's what the radio's for. They have to keep calling the game, and I think that the best commentators are probably radio, because they have to keep calling the game. Otherwise, you lose what's going on. So Triple M, they kind of come in, kind of come out of it. I think one of the guys that's really coming through now. We had him on Saints TV podcast, and he was brilliant. Joey Montagna.
Yes,
he was
Joey.
such a good caller of the match.
He is.
Very rarely gave his 2 cents, but when he did, they were great because he knew his role in the commentary box, and he's like, okay, I'm here to call the game. I'm here to tell people. I'm here to visualize it for people that aren't able to watch the TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So he does a great job. I reckon he'll be, over the next 10 years,
Yeah.
the commentator.
And he's one of the people as well that I've heard from who've had him in the coach's box helping out teams at certain times, are coming in and doing kind of specialist talks about players, is that his footy knowledge is really strong as well.
Yeah, really
so
strong.
like that really comes in when he's talking. Who have
Yeah.
you got, Joe?
I'll go with a good mate of Hutto, Jared Healy.
Yeah, Jared Healy.
I like Jared Healy's.
The only thing that Jared Healy gets me with is he has a strong bias against St Kilda. He really hates St Kilda. So whoever's playing St Kilda, he'll talk the ears off.
Yeah.
And then he'll give a couple of, oh yeah, I guess that was pretty good from St Kilda there. That's what I'd give him. But I think Jared Healy's there, and who was the other? Come on,
Waitley.
McLaughlin. Hamish McLaughlin. I
He's
think
all
pretty
right.
good. Yeah.
Have I got Healy and Waitley wrong?
Maybe. I think you've got, maybe.
Are you talking about Jared Waitley from 360? Jared Healy
Yes,
is the... Yeah, okay.
Waitley.
Yeah, Jared
Yes,
Waitley.
yes.
Yeah. He's a ripper. He's a ripper.
I love him, yes.
Yeah.
Apologies to everybody.
Jared Healy was a cricketer, wasn't he?
No,
yeah,
Jared Healy is the... he won a Brownlow for
okay.
South Melbourne and Melbourne.
Yeah, no, Waitley's the one. And I love the professionalism because he's also a Geelong fan. And you could not sense any bias.
Yeah.
When they won their flag and when they won the premiership, him and Hutto, they were both working the box together, and they were both. You could see in the video afterwards when they released like how excited they were, but you wouldn't have guessed it. Hearing it, love his commentary, and I love when he came in and was talking about the Collingwood Carlton game, and Collingwood have come in like the Grim Reaper, and it just sort of killed Carlton. It broke Carlton from that point on.
Yeah.
Mate,
He's a very professional journalist, isn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Very good.
It's better than those commentators that when your team's losing by 60 points, they're coming back, they've got a chance. It's like, no, sorry, mate.
You're just trying to get the viewership,
Yeah,
mate.
pretty much.
Yeah, they're trying to hype up the game a bit like, we were playing West Coast the other week over there.
Yeah.
Tough to hype that up.
It's hard to hype that up. I agree.
Yeah.
But they're trying to say, look at the way West Coast are playing. They're getting into Essendon's head, and it's the psyche that they're bringing in. And we kick a goal, we're up by 50 points. It's like...
That's because
Mate.
they've got 100,000 members. You know?
I would have hated to see the Adelaide West Coast game, the commentary from that one, beating them by 3 times the points. What is it? West Coast led another goal.
That was just
go in.
all about text.
It was all about
Yeah.
text.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah,
The
and
big
that was
text.
brilliant, yeah.
100%. Why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
PB.
I was so it was
10
awesome.
goals.
I mean, as a bloke, I don't know if I hope he's done some improvements and
So
I hope he's a better bloke now. But that footballing performance was awesome. That was so much fun to watch. Yeah,
100%.
When anyone's on the verge of 10, it's just you're hanging on the edge of your seat. Like, are they getting it to him? Are they getting it to him? Are they getting it to him?
It's Josh Bruce against North Melbourne every time he plays.
What do you give that bloke? What do you give him?
They just kick the ball to him, and it's just like, oh man, it's a
He has
pain.
your number. Like, I don't get it.
It's his one good game for the year.
Yeah.
Every other game is shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, fans. Every other game is shit, and then he gets dropped the week after. It's like, Bruce better be fit for North Melbourne. Let's go.
He's playing at centre half back now.
Yeah.
In the twos.
He'd still come in for the forward line against us.
Oh, wait, he's playing you guys this week? Watch out for the emergency list. You might see a late change.
All right, I might make some adjustments to my multi.
Awesome.
Brucey for 10 plus.
Brucey for 10 plus. He's on.
It's so funny.
Alrighty. Last question on the agenda here, boys.
Yep.
We're going to finish strong. It's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Who is closer to a premiership out of these two teams? And one of them, we just mentioned, West Coast Eagles. Now you're probably thinking, who the hell is competing with West Coast Eagles here? The GWS Giants.
Two interstate teams.
Good
question. What do you reckon?
One with heaps of fans and one with no fans.
See, I have to say GWS, their draft picks might not be as good, but I think their young talent's a lot better than what West Coast has. West Coast isn't a shocking team. It's just that they've got no good young talent coming in. They spent 3 first-round picks on Tim Kelly. Arguably it hasn't really worked out, but it's set the club back so far. Chesser really hasn't worked. The only good draft pick I remember that them having is Jinby, right?
Yeah.
So they all the guys are getting older. They've got no one new coming in. Yes, GWS is very skewed. Their good players are very expensive and they're good. And their young kids maybe not as good. They may, similar to Carlton, they've got a lot of VFL level players in their team to fill out the numbers. But I think they're in a much better position than what West Coast are.
Yeah, it just depends on whether the lists that GWS have got are going to peak at any stage. And if they're not going to peak, then West Coast are 1 year off their rebuild. That means GWS are 5 years off their rebuild. And if they're not going to peak and win a premiership in the next 5 years, they're not going to win a premiership for the next 10 to 15.
Maybe they've peaked already. I mean,
they
made a grand final.
In 2019. And that's where I'll look at West Coast. And you've got to look at averages now. And West Coast, since they've come into the competition, average 2 grand finals a decade. Every decade.
Really good.
In the 90s, they had 2 and they won 2. They had 3. They were in 3 grand finals, 91, 92, 94. They won 2. They were in 05-06, 106. They were in 2015, got beaten by Hawthorn. They were in 2018, beat Collingwood. So as a business model, they average 2 grand finals every 10 years. They were at the bottom of the ladder in 2000, and by 2005 they were at the top. So then you look at the other end of it going into 2015. In 2010, they were almost on the bottom of the ladder, if not the bottom. By 2015, they were the best team in the league and got done by a better team on the day. They are just a great business. They are the biggest football club in the country by far. They've got a waiting list for people to get into their medallion club over there of 50,000 people. They are just a powerhouse of a football club. So they will find a way within the next 7 to 8 years, on average, to be in a grand final and to be the best side in the competition for that season.
Having said that, there is an expansion club coming in really soon.
Yes, yes.
And they're about to suck up every draft pick under the sun.
Which is good that West Coast are doing it now.
Correct.
Yes.
100%.
And GWS.
That's as soon as you said 5 years, GWS, it's just like, there is no 5 years. That 5 years is going to be pushed out to 8 years at this rate because of what with Tassie coming in. Have they picked a name for Tassie yet?
No, they're still trying to get the rights from Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers.
It'll happen.
Yeah,
they'll get the Devils.
The Tassie Devils.
Yeah.
All right, we'll call them Devils,
My only issue is with the West Coast rebuild is the fact that they're not the destination club in Perth anymore. There's another club in there who's come in, and we've seen with Luke Jackson, When players want to go home, they're not going to West Coast. They're
Yes.
going to Freo now. So
Yeah.
Freo's, you're going to have more WA players wanting to go home. Freo's going to be like, hey, come and play for us. We're at least competitive.
Yeah, they had the war chest. They had the
Yeah.
money for it, whereas like West Coast is still that top heavy with all of their senior players.
Yeah.
They're paying through the roof for some of these midfielders like Sheed and Kelly and Gaff and, you know, Duggan is now going to be on a big paycheck. Barras has got a big paycheck. McGovern, we haven't seen McGovern at all this year. He's $1 million player.
Yeah. Nick Nat would be on close to that as well.
He'd be on close to that. So they've got all these top end. They're getting no bang for buck.
No.
They are getting zero bang for buck. Literally zero.
But if you're a young player coming home, if you're someone in your peak and your prime coming home, are you going to go to the young performing team who's making finals with a bunch of 22-year-olds? Or are you going back to the team that, maybe in 3 or 4 years, they're going to finish a rebuild and they're going to be competitive?
Yeah.
Regardless of the money.
Yeah, you make the risk, but I think it's just a matter of if you are at West Coast, you get looked after.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what.
You get the job after you're finished.
Yeah, that's it. You get the job straight away
Hello,
after you
mining
finish.
companies.
Yeah, that.
You're playing for the biggest.
The
kind of-
FIFOs.
yeah, you've been playing for the biggest team in the country. They do pay you as well
Yeah,
to play
yeah,
for West
of
Coast.
course.
It's not too bad. You got some decent players there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're injured all the time, but
Yeah.
I
And on
reckon-
average, you make 2 grand finals a decade.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think they might get their hands on a lot more draft picks. I mean,
Maybe, yeah. Priority
They will.
pick could be in the
Priority
could be in the
pick
works.
could be in the works.
If they didn't win 2018, they'd be in for a priority pick now. But
Yeah.
that's really holding them back. Like North Melbourne might get another one, or at least get some concessions this year heading into next year.
We can
But-
hope.
Yeah. but West Coast, man, like
Barras wants to go. I think people talking about Barras leaving.
well, I would if
He's
I,
on
if
a
I
mega
was
deal.
He's on a mega deal.
If I was a good player in that club and my contract was coming up, why would I stay?
100%.
It's like rebuilding team. Oh yeah, I'll just finish. It's like Carlton, right? Paddy Cripps is never winning a final. Why would I stay at West Coast for the next 5 years doing the same thing?
Shots fired. Shots
Yeah.
fired.
Yeah.
Carlton fans, please don't. It was him.
Yeah, it was him.
Let us know in the comments what you think. Like, share, subscribe.
of all people, it was the North Melbourne supporter that said that. You know?
Look, he's got Georgie Wardlaw. He's sitting here loving
Mate,
life.
oh,
what a
good.
gun!
Yeah.
What a gun!
Mate, Braden George is coming next year. Watch out.
For all the Georges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of watch out for more of our content to come, guys. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that jazz, because here at Fancast, we're pumping up content now. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Proper footy talk.
Proper footy talk. That's what
Proper
it's all about.
40 chats, guys. So thanks very much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.